What's the most not safe for work thing you saw go down at work? I'm a teacher. Our smart boards are linked to our computers, but you can freeze what's on the board, so the students can do the work and you can check emails, do registers, etc. One guy thought he'd frozen the board and proceeded to sext his missus over email during a lesson. He was at least smart enough to use his personal email, but he was dumb enough to not check the board was actually frozen. Result was students photographing the rather scandalous emails and Snapchatting them to each other. I work on a different site, and within 2 hours it was all over my site as well. The guy no longer works for us. I worked janitorial at a university and was on the early morning shift. It was normally pretty quiet for 30 AM, with few people around. One morning I went to get onto an elevator and there were 2 people having vigorous sex. There was that awkward moment of us staring at each other as the door stayed open for a few seconds and then closed again. I had a good laugh, then went about my work thinking little of it. Fast forward 3 years. I meet this girl and start dating her. After a few months we end up going on a camping trip and we were going to meet a few of her friends out there. When we arrive at the campsite, there was a second awkward moment as I recognized the couple from the elevator and they recognized me. When my GF introduced us, the 3 of us almost simultaneously said, "We've met." When my GF asked when and how we met, we just burst out laughing and ended up telling the story. Small world. When I worked at a hotel, one of the housekeepers was known to hook up with guests from time to time. The head housekeeper caught her in the act once when she was trying to inspect rooms. Edit. I regret to inform the people who commented asking which hotel and all the people who DM'd me asking as well, but I don't think she still works there. Saw my boss and a coworker making out. They were both married at the time. Each came into my office later that day and had a sit down with me on why these types of things happen. I was 26 years old at the time. I was working second shift security in a pharma company and a line worker came put of the boss's office all disheveled. The boss had gone home already, so I kept watching and 2 dudes came out of the office a few minutes later. One was still putting his pants back on. They were extremely surprised that the door to her office was on camera. Turns out one of the dudes had stolen a master key from a janitor's cart and had been using the manager's office as a bang pad. Guy came into work very late back office for a bank with 2 black eyes and completely beaten up. In front of everyone and quite loudly said it was his girlfriend. But you think I'm bad? You should see her. He was being serious too. Someone also caught him doing a line in the office toilet before he started work that day too. I've worked at a country club for a long time, and there is always scandalous shit going down. Housekeeper was banging the maintenance man in the laundry room. A member walked into the bathroom and witnessed a man giving another man a BJ. The beverage cart girl was flashing her new boob job to men for tips. The latest hot off the press story was 2 coworkers were having a threesome with a member and took pics on his phone. Wife found them, sent them to the GM. 2 coworkers fired on the spot. Plenty more stories, but those are the top ones. Woman pulled up behind our building. We had on-site security and lots of cameras. She stops, gets out, drops her pants and shits behind the building. Security goes out to ask her WTF she's doing. She scoops her mess up with napkins and drives away. Our office was near a mall and an interstate highway. There were restaurants and fast food everywhere. There was no reason for her to do that behind our building. I worked as a janitor at a hospital. There was a private restroom on the 2nd floor. On multiple days, someone positioned themselves above the toilet and took a dump all over it. It turned out to be a janitor on 2nd shift. Edit. I worked 3rd shift. I preferred this restroom except for the days when it was covered in poop. By the way, I only talked to that janitor one time. He said he had been there for 10 years and planned to retire from there. Had a fire drill at work one night. Attendance was taken and 2 people missing. Couple bosses went back and looking for them, found them in a storage room having sex. Boss told them to finish up, have a good time, go home, and don't bother coming back. First day at a job, and out of nowhere an employee yells across the office at the boss, "We all know you're cheating on your wife." With the secretary, the boss freaked out and started yelling at all of us that his personal life is none of our business. The secretary was crying and they both left. I was supposed to be training with the boss that day, but because he was gone, we all just went down the street to some Mexican restaurant and drank all day. Pretty cool gig, even if it was very short-lived. Cinema usher, end of the night and waiting for final films to finish and clear up. One guy was sitting in the back row, would be standing at the front to the side watching the credits. It is not uncommon for this, but the end credits finish and he is still there. I begin to walk up the stairs towards him, and he hasn't noticed me, and I can make out he looks like he is asleep. As I get closer, he suddenly looks at me and mouths something. Another head pops up from his lap. Another guy had been going to downtown with. I instantly froze, turned around and walked back down to the exit. They rather sheepishly left a few minutes later. I thanked them for their visit and hoped they enjoyed the movie. Back in the 90s, I worked at a car wash. Across the alley from the car wash was a small condo with a balcony facing us. One day, a guy was totally banging his girlfriend from behind on the balcony facing us. They were clothed, but pants dropped, skirt high. We started to notice after a while, and as we pointed and showed more coworkers, their tempo increased and then they finished, and we cheered them on. And that's a wrap for today's Reddit stories. If you enjoyed the ride, hit subscribe for more. Comment on your favorite story, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Until then, stay safe.